now live. Welcome, ladies. We all had some technical difficulties, y'all, and I start on time. So we blame Be Live and scheduling conflicts and all of those things. Do not pay attention to any blinking screens. That is the devil trying to stop Carletta, who's going to be an amazing highlighted speaker. So if you see that and you're easily distracted, do not get distracted. You got this, y'all. Stay focused. Oh, shoot. We lost Akeisha again. But Akeisha's still here with us on the audio. So until she comes back, just remember, like, we're here, we're alive. And more importantly, y'all, I have an amazing slot of ladies. These ladies have so many different amazing qualifications that go beyond just their degrees, that go beyond just what they do. They have a qualification that all of you have, every single one of you, because they've all failed at something. And not only have they failed at something, they know that failure means that they have so much to teach you. They don't let the failures that they have in their life define them. They don't let those things make them, the breaking point. They one day decided that those failures are things that they can use to completely connect to the world around them. And that's powerful, y'all. That is so powerful when you use failures in a different way. So Nina, the last spring, came in a dream, y'all. I woke up from a dream. All right. I wanted to redefine last place. So I decided that last doesn't mean last place anymore. It means lawyer, author, speaker, truth. And that is what it stands for me. That's what I wanted to stand for you, is redefining your last place, redefining how failure seems to you. So if you guys haven't read about these amazing ladies, because my page has been doing a crazy job of putting all their bios out there, all their info out there. Carla got a book. Akeisha, I'm not even going to go because Akeisha can just talk for herself. Liku and me are published in the same African American journal for Harvard. So y'all just don't know. It is crazy. All of these ladies have immense qualifications. So before I go any further, I just want y'all to talk about why y'all even wanted to talk to these ladies, because y'all probably get, speaking opportunities and things all the time. What was important about you speaking here on the Becoming a Lawyer, Breaking Barriers, and Becoming Unapologetically Bold?
I can go ahead and start.
Go ahead, Lisa.
Go ahead, Carletta.
Okay, I think the biggest thing for me was, one, being one of 8 Black students in my class. So not seeing that representation, like, hey, we can kind of collectively discuss things that we're going through that maybe our peers may not be going through. So that was a big motivator for me to speak out on the things that have happened to me and give the information on how I overcame that. So a lot of times that I tell people, like, I'm so interested in you. I'm interested in learning about you and how you overcame. I just don't want you to have an obituary of yourself. I don't want to just hear about how, things have been hard. I want to hear about how you overcame them, so that way you can help the next person. So that was the motivating factor for me coming here tonight.
Yeah, and I'll just piggyback off what she said. I want to be able to share my story, my failures, my experiences, and the negative ways that I felt with, other women who aspire to be in my position, who will soon be in my position, and just let them know, like, it's a journey and it's going to be tough. But if we're here to support each other, which is something that we don't always have, that we want to be able to, then we can definitely win. And I just want to be here as a resource.
Yes. All right.
Can you hear me okay? Can you hear me, Nina?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So just echoing what the other lady said, I think what really motivated me to want to be here is the fact that the legal community is not very diverse. Only about 5% of attorneys are African American. Only about 2% are African American women. And so sometimes just by nature of, ethnic breakdown, I personally can feel like a bit of a unicorn walking throughout this profession. I think that oftentimes doing this work and being in this profession can feel very isolating. There are a number of challenges that come along with the lack of diversity and just other things associated with being a lawyer. However, I think that sometimes we make the mistake of thinking that these challenges mean that we are in some way insufficient or we are doing something wrong. And that's not necessarily the case. And so I think that's something that I definitely needed when I joined the legal profession, was people that were there to encourage me and kind of give me perspective with regard to, what was happening in the bigger picture, and, the fact that I actually was doing okay, that I was going to make it through. And so I think that that's something that I was given, and I am always mindful about paying that forward and giving it to others. I think especially because there are so few of us here, that being a resource to others is definitely really key and really important.
Awesome. And y'all know my motivation. I was defined by failure. I looked at pretty much everything that I did in law school and I was like, oh well, I didn't do this right or I didn't do this right. And that means somehow that I'm a failure with XYZ things. And I let that define me for a long time. So anytime you allow failure to define you, and convince you that you're unworthy, that is something that I want to combat against, and I want to just fight that because I don't believe that any of y'all are unworthy, and I don't care how you scored on the LSAT. I don't care how you scored on the bar exam. I don't care how many times you failed the bar exam. You're meant to be a lawyer. If that's in your heart, if that's in your mind, that's in your spirit. And I had this dream since I was in 8th grade. So some of y'all have had this dream for even longer. Since you were out the womb, you was a lawyer all day, every day. And nobody could tell you you weren't going to be a lawyer. So that's just something I want to keep in mind. And I want you guys to ask questions. I want you guys to put all of that on the table. Like, that's what they're here for. Nobody is here to just brag about themselves. In fact, the questions that I have for them to answer has nothing to do with them bragging about themselves, except for I think one. But other than that, I think of it is about trying to identify the people that you're hearing from and identify that they're just like you. They have had experiences that you had, and they know that you need someone who can give you a real perspective and offering that. So that's it. That's all I got. So y'all ready to start the questions? Yes? Yes? All right. So here's the first question, ladies. What was your biggest failure and insecurity in law? Yay, fun. The hard band-aid. Rip off that band-aid, y'all. What was your biggest failure and insecurity in
Okay, let's get it popping then. We're ripping off the band-aid. Man, my biggest insecurity, failure, not failure, I'm gonna just call it an insecurity, was not passing the California bar on the first time.
law?
And if you know anything about the California bar, for some reason, it's the devil of all bar exams. There are still people, who graduated before me that I know who haven't passed yet, who graduated with me that haven't passed. But anyway, yeah, so that was my biggest insecurity because growing up, I've always been the one to excel academically. I was studying like crazy when I was young because of my parents and their discipline. And, I took that with me throughout college and law school at the top of my class. I was always studying my behind off. And, I was on law review, I was on ADR, I was the editor in chief, I had a publication. Like, I wanted to make sure that I was at the top of everything so that when I did enter the legal field, no one had an excuse to turn me down or discriminate against me. Now, when the bar exam came around, I studied religiously for it for what is that, like 2 months that we were studying the first time. And I put my everything into that test. And when I received my results, I remember I was in a movie theater with who was then my ex-boyfriend at the time, I'm being married to now, hey. But yeah, and I got my results and I just cried and cried and cried. And I was hurt, but I was more so embarrassed because, look at everything I've accomplished from second grade on up. Like, and now I get to the pinnacle of everything, and I don't pass on the first try. I got to go home and tell my family that, I'm not going to be a lawyer yet because I failed the most important exam. My friends are asking me, like, oh, did you pass? Did you pass? And I have to tell them no, like, that's embarrassing. I see, my own friends and colleagues who I'm happy for posting, that they passed, but it's just also a reminder that I didn't. So, as someone who's very strong, I just push those feelings all the way down. I took the bar exam a second time and I passed. However, the insecurities and the depression and just the negative aura that I experienced from failing the first time and I never spoke about or did anything about, I think started to manifest, after I got into my first job. And that really impacted me because it made me realize that, the bar exam doesn't define me. Just because I passed the bar exam doesn't mean everything is all good now, which I mistakenly thought. It just meant that I had a job now or I had a license to practice law, but I was still insecure in feeling like I wouldn't be enough, that my drafts wouldn't be enough, that my motion writing wouldn't be enough, that my correspondence with clients wouldn't be enough, or somebody would look down on me or expect me to mess up. So that has been my biggest insecurity. And I say has been because I still think that I'm grappling with the impacts of that to this day, although I'm more self aware of how it has impacted me. And again, I want to be here, to let people know that it doesn't have to impact you like that. Like, it's literally just a test. It's a money making scheme. There are people who pass the first time, who, and I'm not talking about anyone in particular, but just don't succeed as lawyers. Like, the practice of law isn't for them. So there's nothing that can determine who you are outside of you.
Mhm. All right,
The
ladies, who's
band-aid.
taking
I'm sorry.
who's oh, hold up. Liku, your audio's gone.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. It just went out for a second.
I can go next. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think very similar to what Liku just stated, something that I feel like I have struggled with the most is just this feeling of imposter syndrome. Like, I don't belong here. I'm not good enough. I'm not as skilled or as talented as other people that belong here or that are in this space. And for me, particularly, I work in civil rights policy. So I went to law school knowing that I did not want to be a lawyer. I was led to law school in part because of my passion for legislation, policy, politics, and kind of wanting to be behind the scenes with shaping policy, particularly policies that affect Black and Brown communities, marginalized communities, communities with similar backgrounds, or communities I'm from, honestly. And so, because of that, when I was in law school, I often felt like a unicorn in the room, and many times I was a unicorn in the room because law school is very much so tailored towards teaching you how to become either a transactional lawyer or a litigator, and not necessarily someone who utilizes their legal skills to impact communities in a different way. And so I often felt like I didn't belong in classes, other spaces. There were definitely networking events where I would go to, and alum or other lawyers, essentially, when they asked me what I wanted to do after law school, they would sometimes tell me, well, you don't even need to be in law school for that. So, there were also these like verbal or nonverbal cues that I would receive from others that actually signaled to me that I didn't belong. And so for me, that was hard. But then also another thing that has been hard is actually once I got into these civil rights policy spaces, I was actually surprised to see that they lack the diversity that the legal profession itself lacks. And so even while we're having conversations about civil rights, social justice, criminal justice conversations, whatever, there aren't always many Black or brown faces in the room. So I am often still usually one of the few, if not the only. And so oftentimes when these conversations are taking place, I'm privy to, I also still feel like I'm in a twilight zone because there are just very glaring things that I feel like aren't being stated. Or when I say something, I kind of see the faces of people looking at me like just in silence, like, what on earth is she talking about? So just knowing that I am often someone that is in places where I am required to challenge perspectives, challenge narratives, push back, and sometimes make people uncomfortable. Is something that was really hard for me for a while because the legal profession, very much so, at least in law school and throughout the legal profession, you are taught about civility in the way or the importance of building friendships with your peers and your counterparts, etc. But a large part of what I find myself doing is actually engaging in those uncomfortable conversations. And that's something that, sometimes is frowned upon in the legal profession. And so finding a way to do that in a way that's true and honest, but also, not destructive is something that I have often struggled with as an attorney.
All right, now I'll go next. I'm gonna say Carletta for last. She's got all this awesome wisdom, so I'm gonna just let her be last. But she got wisdom for y'all. But I'm not following Carletta. But what I will say is, mine is also like Liku. I failed the bar, but then after I passed the bar, which is what Liku was pointing to, I failed the bar, right? So I was in there with all my classmates. I know me, just though I had a lot of nosy classmates, a lot of classmates that went to my Instagram story afterwards to find out the tea because everybody was posting their stuff proudly. And I was ashamed, okay? I cried that entire morning for hours on end. I saw that list and I was just like refreshing it, hoping that it said my name. And then when I found out how many points I missed it, y'all, I missed the bar by 7 points, just 7 points. So I was like pleading with God. I was like, I'll do 7,000 community service hours. Please, dear God, don't make me go back down to Montgomery. I don't want to. I am so tired. It was so nerve-wracking in that room. And it was so much money. And it was just money that I felt like I had wasted. I had wasted my talent, my time, everything. And then on top of that, after I passed, my first year, I only made $80. So then I was really feeling some type of way because I decided to go through with the practice of law, start my law firm, $80. And then everyone was like, you need more experience. You need to do this. You need to do that. And that really frustrated me. It really made me sad to know that I was doubting myself so much to such a degree that I could not get to that point. I could not get to that excitement where I could do anything because I couldn't make it work. My first year was so difficult, so riddled with failure, so riddled with defeat that I felt like I had failed the bar because not only had I failed it, I hadn't, struck out my first year, which is what I told myself that I was going to be able to do. I told myself that I was ready to, get into law and really make a difference. And that has been so, so difficult for me, like so difficult. And having people who believe in me, having people who love me and care about me made me feel like a better person. But y'all, it was rough. It was so rough believing in myself again. Because if you don't believe in yourself when you get out, it doesn't matter how many times you start something, how many books you write, how many blogs you post, how many people tell you you're worthy, you will doubt yourself. Nobody else. You will doubt yourself, and it will show in your work. It'll show in everything that you do, and people will start beginning to doubt you because you just show it. It oozes off of you. And that is not a way that I want anybody to stay because I hated how many years it took for me to get my together. So I say that to say it's Carletta's time. This is what I've been waiting for because I've been watching Carletta post on Facebook all week and I've been inspired because she wrote a book and she's gonna tell you because she is awesome. Anyways, continue.
To follow that, but okay. So so I am currently still in law school. And my biggest insecurity was really, it started with the LSAT because I was a repeat LSAT test taker. So it didn't come natural to me the first time taking the LSAT. And much like Liku, you grow up always being an overachiever. So like intellect has always been something that I've been so proud of. My parents, she's going to law school. And I'm like 8, so that they've groomed you to think that like you are you cannot be shut down. Like, you got this. You can do whatever you put your mind to. And then the world hits you in the face, or law hits you in the face. And it's like, well, actually, I don't feel like I could do this. I thought I could do it, but I don't feel like I can. So it took me 3 times to get a score that I was satisfied with to get into law school. I'm sure I could have applied prior, but I just wasn't satisfied with the score. So then you think, okay, I finally made it. The first day of school, you get there, and then it's like, I don't know if I could do this. So now you've done all this preparation to get to a point to where you thought you were gonna just excel, and now you're afraid. So that was the biggest issue, is that if you don't know, you will find out very quickly that law school is a very humbling experience. And the sooner you learn that, the better. So my experience was that, yes, some of us are some of the smartest people that we've ever met. And then they put you in a room with other people that are just equally as smart, if not smarter. So that created an insecurity for me. Can you guys hear me? It looks like
No, you good.
Yeah.
You're good. Oh, you froze. Back to us, Carlotta. Ooh. All right. Right now, Carlotta's in frozen mode. So we're gonna get back to Carlotta as soon as she figures out what's going on. She's had some real devil trying to block her type issues today. So I'm gonna see what's going on with her, and then we will get her back in the stream. Right now, I think we have a question, ladies, that is in the comments that I can tackle right now. We're waiting on Carlotta. And so if you guys can see it in front of you, it says, I may have missed the intro. Where did y'all attend law school? This is from Kiana Mitchell. So can y'all just go through and say where you attended law school, maybe how you made that decision while we're waiting on Carlotta?
Yeah. My name is Lee Koo, down there on the screen. I went to Thomas Jefferson School of Law in downtown San Diego. I was born and raised in the Bay Area. I initially wanted to go to other law schools. I took a year off after undergrad because I wasn't ready for the LSAT, honestly, and I just my stuff wasn't in order, and so I didn't want to wait another year. But I submitted all my applications on the absolute last day, so I got waitlisted at all my schools. I saw Thomas Jefferson was still accepting. I saw that they had a scholarship opportunity, so I applied. They called me a week later, and I moved down the next week, and yeah, then I moved back to the Bay after graduating.
Yeah, so I actually was classmates with Nina in law school. We both graduated from the University of Alabama School of Law. However, my first year of law school, I went to Faulkner School of Law, which is located in Montgomery, Alabama, which is my hometown. And then my second year of law school, I began at the University of Alabama.
Carlotta's still not back. I'm trying to figure out what's going on. But I went to Alabama. I actually learned about Akeisha when she finally transferred, and her transfer story is so great. So I'm not going to say her transfer story for her. But when I tell you, I have loved that they brought Akeisha to Alabama. It was just an amazing experience. So I went to Alabama. Carlotta is back. Yay. But I went to Alabama. Akeisha went to Alabama. We both can tell you stories, good and bad, about so like we'll talk more about that. So y'all ask as many questions as you want to in the comments so that we can go into depth about our law schools. But Carlotta, can you check in so I can hear your voice? She's still having some technical difficulties. We can't hear you. Can't hear you. I can't hear you. I'm gonna give you my number, and then you're gonna call me. We're gonna keep your video up, but you can call me, okay?
And while we wait on that, I realized that I actually failed to answer the why question. I went to law school after a few years of working, I didn't go straight from undergrad. And so I already told you what type of, how I didn't want to be a litigator, etc. So when I was choosing a law school, I really wanted to stay at home. I wanted to stay close to my family, close to my community, etc., which is why I went to the law school down the street from me. However, I told you that I do policy work, so I am essentially a criminal justice lobbyist right now. My first year internship after my first year of law school, I got scared. I was terrified about what the job outcomes look like for me, specifically because I wanted to do such a really niche area of law. And I had a white woman attorney that I was working with that literally told me that the legal profession is racist, the legal profession is elitist, and that there were a number of barriers that I was going to have to deal with, likely when I got out of law school, because I was a woman, because I was Black, and essentially just because I wasn't a white male. And so she actually recommended to me that I consider transferring, and I took her advice. I applied to Alabama, but actually, what really attracted me to Alabama was the fact that they had a certificate in government affairs program, which allowed me to essentially learn skills that helped me get into the policy and lobbying realm after law school.
Awesome. And I didn't even have all that. Alabama just rolled out the red carpet for me, yo. I mean, I was gonna go to Emory in my head. That's where everybody from Howard went for law school afterwards. So that's where I was going. I was convinced I was going to Emory. And then I went to Emory, and they didn't give me the red carpet experience. And they asked me, like, if you one of those, you might not get a scholarship. And I was like, one of those? What are one of those? And they're like, with a low LSAT score. I was like, whoop, that's me. Let me go ahead and head out. And Alabama took my low LSAT score, still gave me a high scholarship package, told me I didn't even have to decide on the deadline to commit to their school, took my mama and me out to eat lunch. They had us answer questions answered by anyone we wanted. We got to meet the amazing Marcus Cotton. And when I tell you, Marcus convinced my mom and made my mom feel at home and answered every single one of her questions. That was it. And then the BALSA president called me and decided not to email me. She called me. She said she wanted to have a personal conversation with me. That changed my mind. I was no longer like, oh my gosh, what type of school is this? Because it was in Tuscaloosa, and y'all know Tuscaloosa got a bunch of people who love to say roll tide, and you can take from that whatever you will. But that's really what happened. And then after all of those people convinced me, Professor Fair actually helped me negotiate and figure out how to ask for my scholarship. So really, really important. And that's something I want you to know. But right now, while we have Carletta back, I'm going to let Carletta finish speaking about her motivation and her why. So, her why. Her why. Her why. I don't know what's happening with I don't know what is happening with your audio. We're going to have to figure this out, girl. Ooh. All right. I don't know what's going on with the audio. Let me see if I can keep you up here and take your video down, Carletta. All right. Let's try that. Try speaking.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep. Oh, good. Now I don't know. Try speaking again.
Okay.
Okay.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. So is the question the one that's on the screen?
No, don't worry about that question. You finish your question. This question was to buy you some time to get back here.
Oh, okay. So with as I was saying before the devil tried me, was that you get in a room with people that are just as smart, if not smarter than you, and you automatically build like some type of defense mechanism or insecurity, and you think that And one, keep in mind, you don't know these people. You don't, this is the first time you've ever met them. You have no idea how they got into law school because they're, like Michelle Obama said, there are different types of affirmative actions. So you don't know how they got into law school. You don't know anything about them, but for whatever reason, you feel that you are the one that is inferior. And that was my biggest issue because I've been saying, like, I always knew I was smart. My issue was that I didn't know if I was law school smart. Whatever law school smart is, I just felt like maybe that's not what I was. So I had to kind of get out of my own head and say, I'm here for a reason. I got in and I had to do a total brain shift. And like I tell my parents, like I went from I'm just so glad to be here to I deserve to be here. Mm-hmm. This is a place that I bust my butt to get, and no one gave this to me. So that was the insecurity that I had and how I had to kind of maneuver and work around that. And it's still a work in progress because as you continue through law school, and then it's like, okay, then grades come back. And then now you're trying to find an internship and all of those things. So you're constantly just mentally comparing yourself to other people when you have to realize that this journey is singular to you. And it's your experience. It's not anyone else's experience. So you shouldn't compare your law experience to someone else's because it's going to be totally different. We could be from the same city, the same state, went to the same high school, same college, and we're still going to have two totally different experiences in law school because we're different people. So that's my spiel on insecurity.
Awesome. And then Carletta, will you tell them where you did go to law school and why?
So I currently go to Northern Illinois University College of Law. It's out in the cornfields in DeKalb, Illinois. I decided to go to this school. I originally wanted to go to schools in Chicago in the city, but the schools were just really expensive. And when I went, I didn't really get any type of warm fuzzies about the school. It was just really like, hey, you're here. Do you want a tour? And it just didn't feel right to me. And it's like, but you're asking for my money. Like, I'm very particular about where I spend my money. So when I went to my school that I go to now, they were very welcoming. And much like you, Nina, they talked to my mom about everything. They were tending more to her questions than mine, which I was okay with. But they let you sit in classes. They ask you, have you applied? Yeah, you should apply. These are the things that we offer. Do you want to talk to some students to get like the realty about the school and not just what the administration is telling you? So they gave me the opportunity to do my own research. And that was something that I appreciated about a school because I don't want to just see what's on your website. I want to see like the students and how they actually perform. And my classes were much smaller. So again, like I said, my whole 1L class is 121 students, which you don't really see that unless you go to like a very small law school. And even then, some of my classes are maybe 38 people. So I appreciated being able to get to know my professors on a personal level. So they know if you don't show up to class, they know if you're having problems and things like that. So it's just easier. It was easier for me to kind of go with that school, and they get my money because they appreciate me as a person.
Awesome. That is so awesome. Like, you know, like a lot of people just don't know. Like, this is some really rough stuff. Just the your law school process and things like that. And Liku, I think I fixed something. I still can't figure out what's going on with your video, but at least put your flyer up there. So your audio should work. I don't know what's going on with your video right now. But I have some questions for the audience that we will get to. Don't worry. But I got a couple more questions that I need them to answer. So don't worry, Erica. We will talk about the L.S.T experience. Yeah. So we'll talk about that very soon. But we're moving on to the next question that's very important for you ladies. Did you always think you would become a lawyer? That is a big question that people ask about. And some of y'all aren't lawyers. Crazy, crazy. You're lawyers, but you're not. You don't do the litigation work. You work in policy and things like that. So, yep. That's my question.
Go ahead and start with that like segue.
Because you know it was for you.
Yeah, so absolutely not. So I did not want to be a lawyer. If you had talked to me while I was an undergrad, I was just certain that I was going to go get my PhD. I was going to be a college professor, that is how I would end up in the realm of making some impact or some dent on criminal justice issues by via scholarship and writing and teaching. And so when I was in undergrad, I definitely had a professor that would always tell me, you should be a lawyer one day. She taught one of my business classes. She was a lawyer herself. But I always took that as her polite way of signaling to me that, I argued too much, or, I present dissenting views too much. For me, I didn't see lawyers necessarily as good guys before law school. So I really struggled with this idea of becoming a lawyer, in part because I thought of lawyers as people that were in courtrooms all day, every day, which is definitely not what I wanted, but also as people who harm the communities that I wanted to be a part of. I mean, I often read about, legal decisions that were harmful, or at least I viewed to be harmful, etc. So I feel lawyers like in this really negative light. I didn't want to litigate, so it just didn't make sense to me. It wasn't until I got my master's degree before law school. So it wasn't until I was in my master's program and I was taking a policy class that I realized I was really in love with policy. Policy formulation and specifically. And I realized that when I look at legislatures, whether on the state level or federal level, that oftentimes many of the people that I saw shaping, drafting, impacting legislation were lawyers. So being able to reimagine what the role of a lawyer looked like was really helpful to me in terms of moving me to actually apply to law school and become a lawyer. And so I say that to say that if there are any other people out there that are interested in law for a reason that may be what some folks consider non-traditional, you don't necessarily want to litigate, or you're not going into law because you want to work at a big law firm someday, there are lots of ways that you can use your law degree, use the fact that you're an attorney to do really great work in this world.
Awesome. Let's see, Liku, can you speak to see if I can hear you right now?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Can you hear her?
I can, yeah.
Oh, I can't hear nothing. All right. Well, Liku, speak away. I'm just going to trust that you're saying amazing things and will not interrupt. Continue.
Yeah, I don't know what the devil got going on today, but I'm going to still give y'all my experience. I did know I would always become a lawyer. I can't really recall a time where I actually decided on it or thought that I would be doing something else or wanted something else. Um, I like the fact that you can take one set of facts and turn it into multiple arguments. And I thought that was a really something else or wanted something else. Can y'all? I like the fact that you can. Hello? And turn it into multiple arguments. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, so I always wanted to be a lawyer. I wanted to be in the courtroom and see how I can use the laws to help my people back in my community and give them more of like an upper hand in the situation that they have to deal with. So that's me.
I really think me and Liku were like twin flames or something. I knew I wanted to be a lawyer. I think I got the idea maybe when I was like 5. It started off with watching judge shows, and then moved on to the Cosby Show. And I remember I was about 7 or 8. I went to a garage sale and there was a retired attorney who was selling all of his law books. and he sold them to me for $5. And I had a law library at 8, and I had no idea what they were talking about, but I just knew that one day I was going to be a lawyer, and my parents just noticed that drive in me. So anytime they saw anybody that was a lawyer or a judge, or they even looked like prestigious, they would always say, hey, I have a younger daughter who's interested in law, and can you talk to her, can you share your experiences? So that's one thing that I did appreciate about my parents. They didn't mind just reaching out to people to let them know that, hey, this is something that my kid who's 8 wants to do in life, and you should talk to her about it. So they set me up for success.
Awesome. And then mine is really crazy. So I actually didn't always know. I thought I was going to be a WNBA player or a lawyer. Clearly, that WNBA player thing didn't work out. I wanted to be like my dad, and that's really important. Like a lot of kids grow up wanting to be something for their parents, or you grow up wanting to do something because your parents did it. So maybe you want to do law because your parents did it, or maybe you have no one in your family who did it, and you watch shows. I watched Judge Mathis, Judge Judy, Judge Hatchet, all of the stuff that you weren't supposed to be watching. I watched Matlock. I watched all those law shows, but that's not really what did it. What did it was like 8th grade, and I was like driving with my mama to school, and I saw these kids being bused to Birmingham City schools. And there's nothing wrong with Birmingham City schools, don't get me wrong, but they don't have as much funding as Homewood City schools. So I already knew we had superior like books and all the other stuff, and at least in funding. So I knew that much as an 8th grader, and I was like, Mom, why are they having to be bused to Birmingham City schools? I don't understand. And I realized that they were being bused because of a district line being drawn across the street from my school, mind you, that split the apartment complexes in half, so that students who were right across the street, probably in a lower income housing section, were being bused to Birmingham City schools, but they lived right across the street from my school. And my road that I live on was annexed to Homewood. So we're not even in Homewood. We're supposed to be in Hoover, but we voted to annex ourselves to Homewood, and it was permitted. And so I realized I didn't like rules that I couldn't change. I didn't like rules that I had to just deal with. And I just told myself right then I wanted to be a person who could change the rules and tell everybody that was stupid and be like, no, I don't like this. But I wanted to do it from a perspective of understanding the laws and the rules so that I could actually argue that, because I never understood it as a kid. I just knew it was wrong. I was just like, this is wrong. I was so angry for the rest of the day. I was like, that makes no sense. So everybody has their different motivation. It was solidified in high school when I did my first jail visit and I did my first prisons paper. I was trying to convince my white classmates that somebody going to a maximum security prison because they have some stupid 3 strikes you're out law, because they stole a cell phone 3 times and they're now in prison with people who murder people and all that other stuff because they stole a cell phone, is stupid. And they were like, well, Nina, they stole a cell phone 3 times, so they might as well just go there and learn their lesson. No, this whole kid was 14 years old, and this is a 3 strikes you're out law happening because he had a bad public defender who didn't look at his case file, because they are constantly overworked and constantly underpaid, and they have a huge docket all the time. So it's impossible for them to actually stay on task. But what I learned is this kid was raped. He told his story about being raped. He had all this happen to him because he went and brought a toy gun to a laundromat and was playing around, and that was considered armed robbery. That put him in a maximum security prison. At 14, he was tried as an adult. And it's a book called Fish by Joseph Parham. And if you haven't read it, it's very graphic. So don't read it thinking you're going to have a good exposure. But it changed everything in me when I told my classmates about these 3 strikes you're out laws. Then use his example because, we can't talk about people getting raped in, high school. They'll kick us out, especially in, white majority school. I'll get in trouble. But like, that was crazy to me. And I said, I am never going to be in a situation where I want to make sure that my criminal client doesn't have someone who's going to look at their file. I never want to be in a situation where somebody goes to a maximum security prison at 14. There's no reason that he should have ever had to experience that at all. And no one should be sending kids to prisons where they're getting raped and taken advantage of and things like that. And he's just being tried as an adult because that's just how it is. So that was solidified in high school. I already knew in eighth grade, but I was certain after I think my 10th grade year of high school when I wrote that paper. I was like, I don't want to hear nothing from y'all for the rest of my life. I will be doing this. I will do law, something to protect rights, something to protect people, something to protect businesses, all that for the rest of my life. I'm just gonna be protecting people. That's my protect you from rules that don't make sense. So mhm. And Liku, you already went. So I think we're ready for our next question. Let me check what the audience has to say. Yeah, Erica. Wow. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's crazy. um, the next question is so much fun, and I know somebody in here, all of y'all, are breaking barriers. So, how are you breaking barriers right now in your own life?
Okay, I'll go first. If y'all can hear me.
Yeah.
So, breaking barriers. I'm really trying to make it a point not to fall into a trap of overworking myself or building bad habits when I'm this early on in my career. So I'm trying to make sure that I do what's best for me, whether that's making sure that I'm done work at a certain time, making sure that I move the way I want to, despite what someone else might think, or me having to worry about what someone else might think, because as Black women we have to do that all the time. God forbid we get into an unnecessary altercation or a misunderstanding and then it falls back on us. So I'm trying to stay more confident in my own intentions and not really worry about others too much. And I'm speaking my mind, especially now where we're in the pandemic has just blown up racial issues and we're in such a conservative profession. I think it's important that I let people know how I feel. So if you ask me how I'm doing with everything going on and you're speaking specifically about the protests and police brutality, I'm going to tell you how I feel. I'm not just going to bypass it, with the I'm doing fine. How are you? Like you asked, so I'm going to tell you, like, if you ask me if I need a break because of everything going on, then I'm going to tell you. If I see something that I don't like and it is hurting me on the inside not to say something about it, then I'd rather say something about it than keep that bottled up in the inside and watch that frustration come out somewhere else. So I'm breaking barriers by trying to, I guess, build or establish a new foundation for myself. So as I go on, like I'm not falling into no traps of stress and depression, or leaving the profession because I don't feel comfortable in it, or whatever else the other Black women go through and leave law firms like after 7 years, or become a teacher, which is great. It's just I don't think that we have to go through some of the things that we go through, and I want to make sure that I don't set that precedent for myself. So barriers are being broken.
I think most of us as Black women, at least on this panel, we have heard this notion just passed on for years, this quote that you have to work twice as hard for half as much. I think one of the ways that I believe in breaking barriers is by refusing to buy into that. I am not going to work twice as hard for half as much. I am worthy for this. I'm worthy of the same thing that everyone else receives. Doing this same amount of work, and so part of the way that I feel like I'm breaking barriers, and part of the way that I feel like I live up to that principle that I have set for myself, is by using my voice as my superpower to set boundaries, to keep boundaries. I think as Black women, particularly, we are often taught to say yes to things, to accept things as they are given to us. I long ago learned the lesson of how to say no, and how to say no frequently, and how to be honest and true about that. So I am someone who only shows up for the things that I want to show up for. I only do the work that I want to do. I am someone, I already mentioned that, I am often someone who brings dissenting views or has uncomfortable conversations with someone or with others, but I'm someone who is okay with the fact that I may change jobs every 2 years. I am okay with the fact that I may not be where I am today tomorrow. At any given moment, I am willing to walk away from any position, any job, any salary. Granted, I've learned how to, make my exit plan. Usually I know when I have reached that moment where this is no longer a place for me, and it's time for me to find my next place. But I think that that is something that is essential when you are someone that wants to be comfortable with your own level of authenticity. And so for me, that is something that I value, and pride among are more than many other things. I value being authentic. I value having joy. I value being able to walk away from my work each day feeling like I did something good. And I also value being able to walk away from my work each day without this heavy cloud over me. I think my first year as a lawyer was really hard. That situation that Nina discussed, those are sort of issues that I work on on a daily basis. So you can imagine how depressing that can get. In many ways, working on these criminal justice, social justice issues are really heartbreaking. And so it is particularly important for me to do like Liku said and value self-care. So I have learned when to tell people I have too much on my plate. I have to step away. I cannot engage in a certain conversation right now, especially in a time when, we see instances like what happened to George Floyd seemingly repeat themselves over and over again. I have also learned, how much pain to consume, whether in the work setting or in my personal life. And so setting boundaries, being authentic, and kind of prioritizing my authenticity and my joy have been things that have been really important, and I think game changing for me.
That was great.
Um,
So I'm gonna let Carletta speak next. I'll go last.
I think the biggest bear had to break, quite off was just the one that was in my head. Um, and just knowing, like we've been saying, like this is something that I've wanted to do my entire life, and I am on the road to doing that. You have to, well, you don't have to, but you should, give yourself some grace, and know that you have to celebrate along the way. If you wait to celebrate to the time that you pass the bar, you will be exhausted. I celebrated my first day of law school finishing. I was tired. I celebrated with sleep, but I still celebrate, like, nonetheless. Just like learning to accept the small things and know that all of it is going towards something greater. So I think that was one thing. We don't want to, I don't want to celebrate too often, and I need to do this and I need to do that, and we forget that we're doing it and it takes a lot to do this, and you should celebrate yourself every milestone, create milestones, crush them, and celebrate that the fact that you were able to do that. So that was a barrier for me. And then my second barrier, it's for me, just breaking barriers has always included eliminating barriers for others. And just because that's something that I had to go through in law school, that doesn't mean that the people coming behind me should go through that. I think that there's some unspoken hazing, mental hazing that you think that you have to go through in order to be a law student, when you don't have to do that. Just because you had a rough experience and you nearly cried for cold calling, like, you can explain what cold calling is to someone who has never been to law school and explain what it means to outline and things like that. we have to learn that we don't have to allow other people behind us to go through the same thing that we went through just because it happens. So those are some, barrier breakers for me.
All right. And Carletta is very what's the word? Humble. So she's forgetting to mention the big piece here. Her and I both have a book about how to get through law school. My book is called Dear Future Lawyer. Hers is called Becoming Esquire. And they're both survival guides. And mine's a survival guide journal. Carletta is breaking her whole thing with this legal besties network. She's recalled it the Jurist Society. There are people out here. She's being super humble. I'm not gonna let her do it, but that's cute, but no. And so and then I started the Lost Sisters Circle, which is like what you guys are seeing this because it was inspired. Akeisha's a part of that. Liku, if you're not a part of it, I'll make sure that you have it by the end. Carletta, if you're not a part of it, I'll make sure you have it by the end. But Akeisha was with me when we first started, and that was the first place that I thought, you know what, it's okay for a minority woman in law to say I failed, because I kept seeing so many people saying you got to do this, and if you studied for the bar right the first time, you wouldn't have failed. That's a bold-faced scallywag lie. I worked my butt off studying for the bar that first time, and I still failed. I still missed it by 7 points, and that was me not having anyone in my family ever have done the bar, ever have done law, no one to coach me. So imagine if I had had coaching, I might have blown it out of the park if I had that day one, or if my law school had a program for bar prep like some law schools have across the country. Put the pressure on your institutions to teach you. I believe, and I firmly say that almost all the time with everything that I do, is putting pressure on people to teach you. I never let up with my law professors. I was in their office almost every day of 1L year, and I still almost flunked out of law school. And I told them, you need to teach me, you need to teach me. And I had one professor, her name is Montre Carradine at UA Law, who took the time to teach me how she graded my exam, who took the time to break down each and everything I got points for, and who took the time to tell me that if I had just finished, I would have booked that entire class. Whoever doesn't give you feedback like that is not setting you up for success, because they're not giving you true constructive criticism. They're just telling you about how you failed. And you got enough people in life telling you how you failed, or how you're falling short, or how you're not coming up at the top of whatever you are. So don't come into law school believing that, because they will convince you. Somebody, I had a classmate of mine, he told me while I was studying for Civ Pro, and if anybody knows about Civ Pro and doesn't like it like me, then you know that I was getting ready to throw the book. So I'm in the middle of studying for Civ Pro. I'm in a happy mood for once, and he walks by and tells me to just quit, just drop out. And that's just not something you say to somebody you to each other. He was white. If a black person had said that to me, it might have been a joke, but I don't know, because I just wouldn't say that to somebody in jest, because you already feel that way. And it was my first year of law school, my first month of law school, and I'm studying for Civ Pro. Why would you say that? Why would you do that? Why would you even let those words leave your mouth to your throat? Because if words come out of my mouth, they're going to be to edify, empower, and encourage. And if they don't come out of my mouth that way, then that means that I was mistaken. I'm sorry. I'm going to work on it. I'm going to be a better person tomorrow, because that is all of the purpose of the words that I want to leave my mouth. I never want to leave someone feeling as if they're broken. I never want to take somebody's worst things and make them public. I don't believe in exposing people, as you will, about making their bad stuff known. So if they say some stupid stuff online, I don't believe in coming back and saying, well, you failed the bar. I don't believe in any of that. I want people to know one thing about me, and that is that I will never use my words to tear you down. If I can help it, if I can do that, if I'm mad at you, I'm upset with you, I'm going to have a one-on-one conversation with you, and we're gonna squash that beef, because I learned about petty in law school. And let me tell y'all, it is too much energy spent on being petty in law school. It's too much stuff that you're going to go through in law school. I have people in my class who lost their whole father figure, parent. One of my classmates lost their father in law school, in the middle of it. There's too much you're going to go through in law school, too many emotional breakdowns that you're going to go through, that you spend so much time. And this is in life. And that's why I created Law Sister Circle, because I was tired of it. It's too much petty conversations going on. It's too much talking about people and not enough work. It's too many people talking about how they want to help people and don't actually do it. There's too many people who say, I want to help people, but then be the first people to go find a news article that's going to make everybody upset. Stop giving yourself more stuff to get mad about. The world is happening right now. Okay, use your social media platforms to speak up about those issues, but do not keep bringing everything that's going to make people upset back to your conversations. You have to have a safe space. And so I just decided, you know what, Lost Sister Circle is our safe space. We're going to be safe here. We're going to tell people it's okay to fail. We're going to affirm people. We're going to share resources. But more than that, I'm going to give you some exercises to work on being a better person that helped me be a better person, that I went through myself, that I'm only sharing with you because I know, because I've done it before and it works. And the only reason I can tell you that is because I did summer camp counseling for about 9.5 years. So all these little exercises and stuff, I was doing this every time for my campers. So I was always coming up with stuff to make them better people. So I'm breaking barriers because I'm going to do something that's going to challenge you to be better. And you're not going to like it. It's going to hurt. Everybody who got in my group, the first complaint they had was, Nina, what do you mean I got to change my name to my insecurity? I don't want to wear that as a badge. It's okay. It's okay. And my name, if you go to my group, is still failed the bar the first time, because you're not going to know all of my accolades before you know the one thing that I let define me to a point of depression and sadness and feeling sorry for myself, so much so that I was ashamed to make a post. I was ashamed to tell anybody that that name didn't appear on a pass list in July of 2017 like it was supposed to. It was supposed to. It just didn't. They invisible ink wasn't showing up yet. It showed up in February 2018. But I got myself a bar exam tutor and I got my stuff together. But that's how I'm breaking barriers, is that I'm creating and cultivating spaces and encouragement and merchandise and books and anything. And so is Carletta, so is Akeisha, so is Liku. All of them are cultivating spaces and people and energies. And that's why I have them on here. You know, I'm very meticulous about who I have speak with you, because I don't want anybody telling you got to be some level of perfection in order to be accepted, because that is not true. It doesn't exist. And all it does is encourage people to believe that you have to be a perfect something in order to get into these law schools. Let me tell you, none of us perfect anything. We all have something that we messed up on and that we are messing up on constantly right now. And we're still lawyers. We're still able to get to that. And Carletta, you already a lawyer. I don't even know why you going to law school. Might as well just go ahead and ESQ by your name, because it's coming, because you already have a Becoming Esquire book out. So you going to become an Esquire. Then you just wrote a book that confirmed what you're doing. And that's what I'm saying. Like, she breaking a barrier. Like, this is something I didn't even do in law school. I didn't even do until after law school. She in law school and published a book, y'all. She over here, she again, downplay. You will not downplay yourself over here and let me amplify nothing. And when I tell you, Carletta is in law school publishing a book, something that I didn't even do. My breaking barrier was I made a nonprofit when I was in law school, but that wasn't a book. Okay, that didn't bring me no money. My nonprofit brings me no money. You got money coming to you in law school just for being a law school student. And by the time you graduate, you're gonna have another book and another book and another book, and you're not gonna stop. You're gonna put out all this information, and you did that while in law school. And that's crazy, because people, y'all can look at Carletta right now and be like, I can do this right now. You didn't even have to wait till law school. You did an undergrad. Carletta's not done. And she wrote something called Becoming Esquire. That's crazy. Y'all been waiting for all of these accolades behind your name before you publish something. Stop. Put something that you are an expert in right now and put your name on it and go ahead and publish that bad boy. So that's the breaking barriers, my motivational message for the evening. I won't be doing any more of those to the very, very end. Y'all, we got a lot of questions coming in. I promise y'all we coming to your questions. I have to allot the time correctly. We had some technical difficulties, but I got you. We got one more question, and then we here with you. All right. So last question is my favorite question by far. And that is, what is unapologetically bold to you? I need you to define this, because people don't understand. Speaking your mind isn't the same as being unapologetically bold.
Well, I may have the longest answer, so I'll go first. So For me, being unapologetically bold means living by a set of principles. So the set of principles that I live by, that I think help me be unapologetically bold, are as follows. So I already shared one of them. I do not believe in working twice as hard for half as much. I'm going to work just as hard for just as much. Um, Two, I believe in always showing up as my authentic self. So I believe in knowing that any room that I have made my way into, I deserve to be there. So that helps a lot when it comes to feeling insecure or out of place. Just having that confidence, knowing that God will not take you anywhere that you do not belong. I also live by this principle that other people's perceptions of me, or perception of me, is not my problem. That's not something that I need to concern myself about. I believe in being a decent person, a respectful person, treating people the way I want to be treated. But that also does not mean, or that does not mean that I am a doormat. So I believe in honoring people, but sometimes I also believe in matching energy. I believe that perfection is never the goal. I believe the goal is always to do your very best in that moment. And so I am a hard worker. I believe in having a spirit of excellence, but perfection, if you are chasing after that, like Nina said, that will never come. And I believe that a lot of us put way too much pressure on us by trying to, or on ourselves by trying to be perfect. No one else is perfect. We all make mistakes. Make your mistakes, learn from them, keep it moving. I believe that life goes on. So we all have hard days. We all have, missteps that we make, but it's never the end of the world. So life usually goes on. So that's something that helps keep things in perspective for me. And then another thing that, or my final principle, is I believe in cultivating joy. I think that joy is an essential part of my life. It's an essential part of being able to do the work that I do. And so when I am in a point where I feel like there is no joy in my life, there is no joy in my day, that means that I need to have a check in with myself, with my peers, with my advisory group, which is usually my friends, to find out why the joy is missing and what I need to do to get it back. So,
I'll go next.
All right.
I guess kind
Be
of,
cool. You want to go next?
yeah, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Just
Okay.
piggybacking off of that, I believe being unapologetically bold just simply means staying true to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, I shouldn't say simply, because it's not simple, which is what makes it bold. Like, as women, as Black women, now as professional Black women, like, there are so many barriers and stereotypes and implications that are weighed down on us. And we have to worry about all of those things. And I think worrying about ourselves, how we feel, not worrying about what we wear to appease somebody else, not worrying about how our hair is looking to appease somebody else, not worrying about, the words that we have to say or how we need to tread carefully not to, make someone else feel comfortable, whatever the circumstances may be. Like, you just worry about yourself and what makes you feel good. And I think that's unapologetically bold, because we are put in this box and they expect us to stay there and to perform for them or to appease them. And when you worry about yourself, like, all of that, that pressure or that stress or those mental Olympics of having to worry about all these dynamics that don't have anything to do with you just like goes away, and you feel so much lighter and happier. So when you're talking about like cultivating joy, like, that's what I get from trying to exercise, being true to myself. And it is a task. I do have to be mindful of, like, am I making this decision because of somebody else? Am I saying yes to this? Like, does it serve me when I'm saying yes to this? Or should I say no because it doesn't serve me? Like, so it's a practice, but I think it's definitely, again, a habit that should be instilled like early on. And secondly, about cultivating joy, like, I started Tribe because I wanted to be unapologetic about bringing Black women together. And that's just not Black women in the legal space, but in my community out here, whatever professional you are, because I feel like as Black women and our shared experiences are so unique, and I don't want them to be lumped together with, women of color because they don't have the same experiences as us. And so we need a space where we can talk to each other, where we can be able to laugh with one another and be comfortable and just cultivate that joy. But at the same time, like we're networking. Hey, you got a business card, you do this. Oh, sis in law school wrote a book. Oh, she needs help publishing this. Like, oh, there's someone doing marketing. Like, we can all help and thrive off one another, because one thing I don't believe in is competition among Black women. So
Right.
I'm not apologetic about bringing us together to, basically thrive like we already do. So that's me.
I can go. I just have a couple of points. Being unapologetically bold for me is taking ownership of my experience. Law school isn't happening to me.
Oh. Uh-oh. I think, can anybody hear Carletta?
No, but that was such a powerful opening.
Golly. Okay. 1 second. Carletta, your audio is off. Okay. While Carletta finishes that, I was so upset because I was like, whatever, it's gonna let her go next. But you know what? I'll go next because she's gonna finish strong for all of us, like a last leg of a race. So while Carletta gets her audio back on, I don't know what happened. I don't know why it's not working, but she's gonna rejoin shortly. I just want you guys to know, like, so far, Artisha and Liku, just for sharing that, that's unapologetically bold. I know that's really hard to say, but that's unapologetically bold of you guys, just like sharing those experiences, even for a second. So I just want y'all to take that time to, like, pat yourselves on the back for being able to get to that point where you shared that with somebody. Just sharing that is being unapologetically bold, because, we don't like bragging on ourselves. We don't like telling people, how we feel. We don't like telling people, how special we are, because we think it's being braggadocious, but it's not. Being unapologetically bold really is, being braggadocious about yourself in a big, big way. And you will forever make changes. You will forever make a difference in people's lives. And I just want you to hear that, like, directly from me, as you continue to, like, make a difference. That is hard, sharing your dream, sharing your inspiration, sharing what you think your purpose is in this world. And it's not to keep people down, it's to inspire people, it's to encourage them. And then when you start, it creates a domino effect. And if you can create a domino effect in the lives of so many girls that are going to come after you, it's just a different feeling. It's an amazing emotion. That's your legacy. That's what you bring to the table. That's what's going to last for years and years to come. So, like, that is unapologetically bold. That is powerful. That is something that you can do right now. And by doing it, you make a difference. You change the world. You inspire others. And that is big. And what Liku was saying, like, I cultivated a space for minority women in law. She cultivated a space for Black women in law. Like, there's a way for all of our spaces to be unique and separate and have something for everyone. It's like that, the little sheet of paper where it's like, take what you need. You take what you need from each group that you're in and utilize that for your betterment. And if you can do that, if you are in groups and group meets, and then leave the group meets that don't serve you. If you in a group meet and it's just a bunch of mess all the time, or it's off topic, or they don't stay on task. Like, I hate group meets like that. They don't stay on task. They don't give me what I need. I need to be able to talk to someone in real time. It's too many people. I can't. I need to be able to interact in real time with you. I need to be able to talk to you, to be able to get some real help from you in real time. And the more people that are willing to and able to do that, like, that's going to change everything. That's going to change your entire dynamic. That's going to make everything even more powerful. You're going to be excited. You're going to be excited that you're in that group, and you'll feel like you're a part of something. And that's what you want.
I would go as far as to say that that actually is a life principle
Yes.
beyond just, group me in social groups. I believe that people should definitely leave any space that doesn't serve you. I think that we have a really good understanding as a society about what abuse looks like in terms of relationships, interpersonal relationships, but not always about what toxicity looks like in terms of the spaces that we find ourselves in from time to time. So I appreciate that you shared that, but I definitely co-sign on that. Being brave enough to leave any space that doesn't serve you. I think that what Carletta touched on about, the legal profession, our law school essentially being a hazing, even at least your first year, is something that many times when we get into these jobs and we get into these positions, or we get into, these bar associations or whatever else, we believe that we just need to suck up, bad behavior, or we just need to take it, or, bite our tongue or push through. And you don't. You can push back, but if, pushing back gets you nowhere, and, bringing issues to the forefront gets you nowhere, you always have that option to walk away. So thanks for touching on that, Nina, because I think that's really important, especially for,
Look, I mean, that's what I want you guys to think about. Like the fact that, and my therapist asked me this, so y'all getting some free therapy advice. Like she asked me about something. I was like, well, I can't leave. I don't want anybody to think negatively about me or talk about me when I leave. And then she's like, why can't you? So, I mean, I pitch that to you guys right now. Why can't you? Why can't you just leave? Why can't you walk away? Why can't you leave something that has been drama upon drama, and it adds minimal to your life? If it's adding minimal, you know how many group meets I have in the left column on my group me? Like I have left so many group meets that are no longer serving what I want. I don't even like the people in it. I was just in it for pure boredom and petty mess, drama, and boredom. Okay, we were in quarantine. I was bored. I left that group. I left those groups. You can leave any point in time to make yourself better and join spaces that affirm you, but challenge you to be better, challenge you to be more than what you are, and then challenge you to look outside. Look outside of yourself, look outside of everything that you bring to the table, and still value you. Still put you at the forefront. Still say, you know what, I have value. I have high value in this day and age and forever and ever and ever. And that is big. When you do that and you make that decision, that's huge. If you can't make that decision for yourself, make it for the person coming behind you. How are they going to feel knowing that the person that's inspiring them is a member of catty mess and drama and all that other stuff? So unapologetically bold is simply being willing to walk away, being willing to have the courage to walk away. So that's just my take. Let me see if Carletta's, at least her audio is back, because when I'm looking at it on Facebook, it shows a blue square. I have no idea why. I think Facebook is plotting against us, y'all. I wouldn't put it past. So, Carletta, can you try to speak for a second? Anybody can hear her? Liku, can you hear her?
No, I can't hear her.
All right. So I fixed Liku's. I don't know what's going on. I can't.
Is it okay with you as while we try to get her back on, if I answer one of these questions? I see someone asked, how did you choose your practice area, and how important is figuring that out during 1L? Something that I'll share, I know that I shared that I'm a lobbyist currently. I work on criminal justice issues, but before my current job, I worked as the Associate Director of Admissions at UCLA School of Law. And the reason I want to share that is because I want, at least for the second part of that question, how important is it to figure out what you want to practice during your 1L year? I want you to know that that's not important at all. So many people think that they have to go to law school knowing exactly what they want to do. And although there are some students who go to law school knowing what they want to do, in general, the expectation is that Students may walk into law school wanting to do something and walk out doing something completely different. Also, students will learn and develop their passions while in law school, and students will just figure it out along the way. So I say that to say it's not essential to know what you want to do walking into law school. When I went into law school, I knew that I wanted to do policy work. I wanted to be behind the scenes, shaping policy. However, I did not know what that looked like. And so, me finding my path essentially was a trial and error process. So, throughout law school, after your first year and your second year, you are likely going to spend your summer doing some sort of form of legal internship. Those internships and experiences definitely helped me shape my perception and just my understanding of what exactly I wanted my legal career to look like. And so that's something that I think is the norm for many students. You figure out, what exactly your practice area will be or what your niche will be, etc., just as you go along your journey. And so with that in mind, when it comes to how do you be successful your 1L year, the truth is because 1L year in law school is something so different than anything you have ever experienced, there really isn't much you can do before law school to prepare yourself for law school. Something that I think students don't always recognize is that law school and being a lawyer isn't always just having the ability to verbally argue. It is very heavily writing based. And so, to the extent that you can build and develop your writing skills, where that means, taking classes in undergrad that require you to do intensive research and writing, and even to the extent that you can learn how to read a lot of information in a really short amount of time. Law school, you read so much throughout law school. These cases that you often may read law, or you may read news articles about, the Supreme Court decided ABC. Those cases are usually really long. So I'm thinking like 30 to 50 pages in some instances of a legal opinion that you're expected to read, maybe 5 legal opinions for one specific class, and you have multiple classes within one day. Like sometimes law school is really a whole lot of reading. So to the extent that you can become a fast reader and learn how to synthesize information, that's a skill that probably will help you once you get into law school. But the truth is, beyond that, being successful during your first year of law school is something that you learn during your first year of law school. But part of what makes your first year of law school so hard, or just all of law school, is that you're graded on a curve, which means that your performance in most classes is not based on you getting all the answers right. It is based on how many answers you get right in comparison to how many answers your classmates get right, or how your professor view your legal analysis in comparison to all your other classmates' legal analysis. So that also is something that's really tough. It's something that many of us, or most students, haven't experienced before law school. And so to the extent that, you can kind of build some sort of resilience and mental fortitude to deal with that curve, that will definitely help you navigate your first year of law school in a way that you elsewise may not be used to.
Yeah, and I guess just to piggyback off that,
Awesome. Anybody else want to weigh in? Liku, do you have a?
I heard someone answering.
can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I just wanted to piggyback off that. Definitely agree. You don't need to decide what you want to do before your 1L year, even during your 1L year. I think I went through, man, a variety of internships. Like I was on the prosecution side, I did the public defenders, I was doing trademark, I did some medical malpractice. Like I was, trying to get a taste of everything because I didn't know. Right now, I'm doing employment law. I really love criminal law, but I didn't see myself adapting to the lifestyle of being a public defender. And I didn't want to take that emotional toll with me home. But I found that the way I could contribute to that is by writing like law review articles or, my opinions on certain things. And so if there's something that you want to do or you're iffy about, there are other ways that you can can find to still contribute to that and do that. And secondly, to prepare for law school, I definitely didn't know what I was getting into. All I knew is that they grade on a curve, and I was not trying to be at the bottom of the curve. So now, what I tell other people who are starting law school is at first, like, your mentality has to be right. Like, this isn't like college, this isn't like high school or whatever, like your group of friends. Like, you really, like, your mind needs to be focused on what you're there for. So if you're there to party, try out all the restaurants, like you're in a new town, you want to explore every other day, then I don't know what your grades are going to be looking like. But if you set your mind to, studying, like making sure you have all the materials in the classrooms, making sure you know how your professors work. For example, each professor is different. Like when you're writing essays for your tourist professor, like it might not be the way your contracts professor wants to receive it. Some might like flowery language, or some might want to be succinct and direct and to the point. So, you have to adapt to circumstances like that. And I just feel like, if your mind is sharp and ready, then that puts you in a much better position no matter what comes your way, like as far as what to expect, because this will be a new experience. So if your mind is ready, then you will most likely be ready. And secondly, I would definitely advise to keep a tight, close friend circle, like people that you study with or kick it with. 'Cause I don't know about y'all, but law school was messy, like messy, messy, messy. More than college, more than high school. Everyone was in everyone else's business about grades, about who's sleeping with who, about drama that just wasn't important to school. And yeah, it's nice to have fun, but just make sure you're around a group of people who are on the same path as you, who have the same discipline as you, who can help you and you can help them. Don't go into a study group with people just feeding like off of you and just using your notes and whatnot. Make sure you can learn from others in an effective way as well. So definitely get your mind right, get ready, and find a close group of people who you can trust and have your best interest in mind and can help you succeed. Yeah, law school is something else, man. Something else. Oh, also, I guess some good tips. Financially, them books cost. Man, those
And
books
I'm just
cost.
echoing Liku's point about law school being something else, because it really is something else. Like, and you'll read about it if you got my book already, then you've already read about it. But like, I write that you're going to meet some characters, and law school is very much like high school. Okay, so do not misunderstand me when it is much like high school. It is very high school related. If you didn't like high school, you definitely gonna have a problem with some of the cliques that happen in law school, because it matches up almost exactly. There are the jocks, there are the the preppy people, there are the people who get drunk at every party, there are the football lovers, there's the the nerds, the one that everybody kind of kick out their group, but they need them when it's time for study hall. Like, there are the same actors there in law school. They just classified different because apparently we all smart. So they just a little bit smarter than they were in high school. But other than that, they're very much the same. They're very much in the same exact categories. In fact, they're worse. I believe that in law school they're a little bit worse than high school, because at least in high school you knew you guys were all on equal footing. No one had like anything super better than everyone else. And some people who come to law school, they got like degrees upon their back. They got PhDs. They just come in here to like check off a box, and they make you look real, real, real stupid for a second, because you didn't come there to check off a box. You came there to make a big difference in law school. And then this might be some of y'all's, like it was for me, your first generation law school student, and you don't have anybody in in your family who's a lawyer. Some of these people came with judges in their family. They got politicians in their family. They mama own a wing in the building. Like, you are not on the same foot. Like, some of these, they can get drunk as a skunk at these parties, and they will have a plus and be on every journal, period, because mommy and daddy own something in the building. Okay. And I'm telling you this because that is the realest stuff. I'll never sugarcoat. I think I had a 1L crying because I told her, like, my 1L year, I stopped reading for law school. I kid you not. I only class I did any reading for, any work for, was Professor Carradine's class, because she gave a damn about me. She was also a Black woman, so I was probably being completely and totally focused on my who I identified with the most. But I don't care. She's the only one who took time to understand me and teach me on my level. She taught us evidence using, like, the O.J. Simpson tapes, as opposed to just teaching me from a book. And that's how I learn. That's how I respond to things that don't make sense to me. I need you to break it down for me in a language that I understand. She used the Boudin Bandit to explain how to characterize character evidence. Like, she used stuff that it would take a scholar years to explain, because they just teach from the book. She used it in real time with real examples of life that people could actually relate to. And the only people who couldn't relate to it didn't look like me. I was like, oops, sorry. This is the one class I'm going to do better than you, because I get it and you don't, because you've always had it explained to you by an older white man. Okay, that's the only people who've explained it to you. That's the only people who've taught you your entire life. So they only know how to explain it one way. Read the book, write out the book, put the book in their slideshow, read the book out loud again like you can't read, and then they tell you, oh, that's law school. This is Socratic method. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's not. That's not the law school that I want. It's not the law school you should demand. And that's not the law school you should settle for. Your teachers need to teach you. And if you're not understanding, then they need to learn how to teach better. And I would say that again, they need to learn how to teach better. You do not have to go down to their level. They need to come up to yours, because you understand stuff on a high level of application. Like, you apply law school to your life. That is how you utilize law. If you don't learn how to apply law school to real things that happen in the news every day, guess what? Once you finish learning all that wonderful book stuff, you're not going to learn how to use it. So then you're going to have to learn law all over again. And that's why a lot of people fail the bar, because they don't know how to use it. They just know the words. They just know the black letter law. They just know the code. But you never taught anybody how to use it. You never taught anybody how it relates to real life. You never clarified and made it something that they could master, because all we learned in undergrad was memorization. Memorization got us A's. Memorization, that's all we needed, was memorize this, memorize that. Well, guess what? If you memorize something in law school, it does not get you an A. It don't. It don't get you an A. You know what it gets you? Everybody else's answer.
Nina, question for you and maybe the other panelists, kind of just inspired by what you just said. I know you and I both went to HBCUs for undergrad. I don't know about the other panelists, but just listening to you speak, I'm reminded of the fact that my HBCU experience, where most of my professors were Black, there was a level of cultural competency and understanding there that I feel like was interwoven into the teaching style, you know, the conversations. But when I think back on law school, I only had one Black professor throughout my whole law school experience. I only had a class with one Black professor throughout my whole law school experience. If I include professors of color, so other members of minority groups, racial minority groups, I only had two classes with professors of color. So the Black professor and then another professor of color. Was that your experience as well, Nina? I know I didn't have Carradine at Alabama, so I'm curious to know, you know, was she your only Black professor? Did you take, you know, other classes with, you know, Black or professors of color? Mind you, for folks on this line, I think there are only 4 Black professors in total at University of Alabama. But I'm also curious about the other panelists. Like, what was your experience in terms of diversity with regard to, you know, the faculty at your law school? And did that match your experience in undergrad? Was that something that made your transition or your law school experience, you know, or did that shape your experience in any way?
Before I answer that, Christina gave me a chance to shout out my HBCU, so I'm gonna do that. So Howard, HU, hey. Anyways, so went to Howard. We can talk about that later. But yes, I had two. So I got one more, of course, law school experience. I had Caradine, and then I also had Daiquiri Steele, which again I miss. She was the best diversity inclusion officer they had. She was actually, she Tulane. She went to Tulane. She went to Tulane. Yeah, so like she was the best, at least for me. It was the only diversity inclusion officer they had. They were the only one doing anything. That was the first one that I know of that even existed for the students, and she did a great program on first in my family to go to law school her first month in, and then she was bringing me, you, everybody who was involved so on to programs and putting us in leadership positions and speaking roles and putting us up front and foremost. So she's at Tulane now, y'all. So if you really want the Daiquiri Steele experience, go to Tulane. I'm sorry, Alabama. She was great. Y'all know this. Don't lie. But like she was awesome. So like those are the two. And she taught me employment law, which is the only other law that I really think that more minority people should be in, because employment law, employment discrimination, employment retaliation, that happens to us more than any other person out there. So like I really want you guys to like consider that as a practice area. So Grace, to your question, how did we choose our practice area so I can, stay on point? I chose my practice area first with criminal law. Family law chose me because that was the first big paying client that I got my second year of practice. And they were like, yeah, I want you. And then I helped somebody get like more child support than they were getting before. And it was great because she was like, Nina, get you the money, honey. And I was like, no, don't tell people that. I didn't do that. But I like it. But I mean, like the thing of the matter is like family law chose me. And then doing business formation, that chose me as well because I never even thought I would be doing any of that. So I started off my practice offering like trademarks, copyrights, business formation contracts, but I didn't really know how to market it, right? So I just told people I did it. But now I know how to market it. I know a little bit more. I took some classes. I got some stuff there so you guys would know more about it. But like I have a lot of experience with one thing, and that's ideas. I have so many ideas that I want to make realities. And so I thought about all the entrepreneurs out there that want to make their dreams a reality, but then they get something like, oh, it was trademarked or it was copyrighted or it's protected. How do I even do all of that? Nobody knows how to protect their stuff, especially in our community. No one knows how to protect their stuff. They put out quality stuff. And you see this happen all the time on Etsy, and you see this happen on TikTok. You have this great fire shirt design, right? And then someone takes that shirt design, takes it on Etsy, and then boom, they're selling your shirt design and your product and your brand on their Etsy page. And guess what? There's repercussions for that. There's protections that you can put in place so you don't have to do that. And I said, you know what? I don't have to just protect their rights with criminal law because that was what I always wanted to do. I can protect their rights with their businesses. Like their businesses can be a protection. So like I didn't do any of that in law school. All I did was criminal law in law school. That's the only thing I focused on. And I ended up doing criminal law, family law, some general law. I actually picked up an immigration client possibly. Like I've done more law than you can possibly imagine. But no, my law school did not. And I didn't even have time to put that on my schedule and graduate on time. So no, focus on 2 to 3 things in your law school journey that will help you get closer to whatever it is you're interested in. So yeah. And then y'all, Carletta is answering questions in the comments because she has had so many technical difficulties today. And that means that God wants her to do even more and the devil is trying to block her. I always claim that anytime I have issues, the devil is trying to block me. And it's a message that I was meant to share because he wouldn't block me if I was doing the wrong thing. He would make sure I was good. So that means that he wants y'all to all hear this message, and this message that God has for you, the devil's trying to block because he don't think that y'all need to hear it. But I think y'all need to hear it, and everybody in here is going to give you some quality stuff. So Grace, that's just to answer your question. So good tips to be successful during 1L. Do stuff that makes you happy. I mean, ungodly happy. Take the paper classes. That's why I was happy my 3L year. I had a bunch of paper classes. I didn't have exams. I did papers because I can write. I know I can write. Even though my 1L year, they tried to convince me I couldn't write. Professor Caradine told me I could write, and that's all I needed to know. So I took Professor Caradine for everything. This just like undergrad. You pick your teachers that like you. Pick teachers that like you. This is about you getting the experience that you deserve. Because I picked Professor Caradine, I ended up working as her research assistant, and I got a chance to do foreign judgment recognition law and do the research on that and write papers on that and do research. And so I have a specialty that nobody else has. I know about the Chevron Ecuador doctrine. I know about law that I never would have found out on my own. So you pick people in law school who pour into you. That's my best tip. Pick people who are going to be your allies in law school. If there's a teacher that likes you, you latch on and you don't let go, because those are rare. They are very rare. There's very few teachers who will completely go to bat for you. And when you find them, you take every single class they got. And then you take all the classes that allow you to get Order of Samaritan, all those honors that you need behind your name. Don't worry about the whole, Order of the Cloth. That's all nice and elite. And if you end up in that club, great. I'm proud of you. But like, don't worry about those classes. Don't worry about bar classes. Okay. Do things that make you happy. Bar classes will sometimes make you miserable because these teachers, they've been the same teachers for the years and years, and they're boring. They're boring. And nothing that they're going to say is interesting. So only take classes that you're interested in. You like the professor. You think that learning from them will teach you something that you need, and it's critical. And let's see. I'm gonna see if I can put Carletta's message up here on here for being bold, because it was just so good. Being bold, taking ownership of your experience. Know that you don't need permission to be great, so don't dim your light for others. Trust your abilities, and lastly, be resilient. If this is an example, things happen, and embrace the opportunity to make lemonade or wine from limits. That's directly from Carletta. I'm just gonna leave that up because it was just so great. So I'm just gonna leave that up while we talk. But Liku, any of y'all weighing in on Keisha's question about, did you have that experience of like two or more people, or how many Black professors did you actually have in law school, or are you having right now for Carletta?
Um, I had one black professor in law school. I believe my 3L year. Um, yeah, I had one. He was a black male. There were two other black male professors in the building. And all three of them were supportive, even though the other two weren't my professors. I wasn't sitting in class with them. Like, I still, had somewhat of a small relationship, like communication with them, and that was significant to me. Again, just being in such an elitist, space where it was designed for me not to be in. So to know that I had professors that I can go to and feel comfortable talking to about, not just content and things that we're learning in class, but, other things that were bothering me as a Black student that other students didn't have to go through, was very comforting. So, yeah, Black teachers, definitely important. Like, there's a vibe, like, Black teachers literally save students, like, they matter. So I hope that, everybody else has at least one at the law school that they're going to.
And Waukesha, I mean Akeisha, not Waukesha. Akeisha, thank you for answering. I do know a Waukesha. She's here in Alabama too. Y'all have to link up because Keishas and Keishas, anyways. But like, I think that was a great question. I think that takes everything even a step further. Like, knowing that you've only had one, or in my case, two. And I think Carletta, they only have two that they just hired. Just hired. How long has your school been in existence? Look at the history paperwork. When did your school get founded? And they're just hiring two more. They're just now getting a dean that's Black. Those are the questions that you need to start asking, and then demanding. Like, you demand that your school show you some respect, put some respect on your name. They want you to come because they need some diversity numbers, okay? Because let's be real, they need some diversity numbers. So you ask about how many people, like, how many Black professors do you have at your school? Okay, maybe wait until after they've accepted you and do that little tour thing. But those are the questions that they remember in admissions that you ask. And if you ultimately decide not to go to the school, they will communicate that to admissions, that this is becoming a problem. My Black students don't want to come here because we ain't got no Black people. You can use your power, your voice, your vision to bring that up. And that's a simple question. And that's how, let's be honest, don't go telling everybody, but that's how I made some things move behind the scenes at the schools that I attended is I asked questions at opportune times. Like, why doesn't the Bossa president get to speak? I don't understand. Like this is going in front of all the new students. Shouldn't the Bossa president get to speak? They're like, wait, no, that's not what, are you silencing minority voices? You can ask it in a very non-threatening way, in a way in which it makes everybody have to think, you know what, we probably shouldn't be doing that. You can do that.
And I will throw something out. Also, let me answer Christina's question first. I went to Alabama State University, so that's located in Montgomery, Alabama, which is home for me. So I really try not to go too far from home. But as someone who used to work at a law school that was, one of the few Black people in the administration, something Liku just said is something that I think is pretty universal. I think that whether you have a Black professor or not, if there are Black professors at your school, they probably are really invested in, helping to make your experience a positive one, helping to make sure that you succeed. And so I say that to say that you shouldn't feel shy to lean on other professors where they are teaching you or not. Most of them are really open to having office hours with you, but also as someone who worked at a public university, the red tape and the barriers as an administrator or a professor to kind of implement change is sometimes a bit harder when the change that you're trying to implement is coming right from you and you think that this is something that should be done. But when a student, when an alum, when a prospective student says, I am upset because of ABC, those are the moments that make Black administrators and Black professors proud sometimes, because that's something they can leverage. So they get to have those conversations. Now, this isn't just me fussing about something. This is me repeating to you what I've heard. And so I say that to say, if you're someone like Carletta, if you're a current law student, or you will be a current law student at some point, take advantage of your ability to use your voice even when you're in law school. The things that Nina talked about when she was a law student, the things that I highlighted while I was a law student that I brought to the attention of administrators, I often saw, and I know Nina often saw, actions taken as a result of that. And as someone now who has been on the inside and recognizes what that looks like on the administrative end, I think that honestly, student voices, alum voices, prospective student voices are usually more powerful than you think. And oftentimes, administrators, Black administrators, Black professors will probably help you. If you ask them, what do I need to do to get ABC done? They will give you whatever inside knowledge they have. They will tell you what you need to include in your letter to whoever, as well as be an ally and help champion your cause. So I just throw that out that, you have probably more power than you realize. As someone that is at the school, a graduate of the school, or even thinking about attending the school.
Yes. Anybody else? Just make sure, because I got to do some weird stuff to hear everything.
Erica asked, "What are some specific things we all did to get out of our head and feel confident in what we're doing?" Something on my first year of law school, my first 1L summer, I worked with a Black attorney, or one of the supervising attorneys for me was a Black woman. And one of the things that she told me is that I need to make decisions as if I am a young white man. So my thought process needed to be similar to any other white counterpart, white male counterpart. And I think that that is knowledge and wisdom that I carry with me throughout my profession. And that just helps me not second guess myself when I do things. If that's the answer to your question, I think that that really is one of the tools that helps me a lot. Just not second guess myself. What would my white male counterpart do? And if you ever spending time observing your white male counterparts, you will see that they often move with a level of boldness or confidence, or just expectation of, being well received, etc. And that is something that I too move with, to be honest with you.
I'm not even gonna speak right now. I'm gonna wait because I know Liku and Carletta are changing the game. I'll tell you in a second what I do to get out my own head, and it's real simple. So it's the shortest thing you're gonna hear. So we'll wait.
And now I feel like I'm gonna be too long winded, which I probably will. But man, what I did to get out of my own head is try to surround myself with black people. Again, the pressures of society and like the expectations or um, kind of what threw me off or was something that I always had to worry about. And I feel like being around, fellow Black students, like studying with them or going to the Black Bar Association's events or, networking with other Black attorneys or older law students or even law students from other schools or neighboring schools, I think really helped me feel comfortable and made me feel like I didn't always have to perform. And it also, it helped me network. It helped expose me to the community, the larger legal community, so that, when I get out of law school or when I'm doing something not directly to my classes and my exams, I have other outlets and resources that can help me. And more importantly, like the affirmations that I got from, other Black students or, older Black attorneys and mentors and all of that, like, that's what really had me like, yeah, I do got this. Yeah, I am as smart as everybody else. Like, no, this doesn't matter as much as I thought it did. So to have that support was really, really instrumental for me. And it won't always be, Black people for everybody, depending on the school you go to, depending on the type of people that you're around. But I definitely do think it's important, to get people around you who you can learn from, who can be mentors to you, and who can expose you to the larger legal community. Because law school, honestly, it's not all about school. Yes, get your grades up, but there's so much more you're going to be exposed to, and there's so much more that you should learn and connections that you need to make to get from school into practice. So
Yep. Can y'all hear me now?
I can,
yeah.
yeah.
Awesome. So mine is really simple. I want you to become a mentor. That's it. When you become a mentor, you have to get your shit together. That's when I got my shit together. And that's when a 3L actually sat me down one day and she said, Nina, how are you going to mentor somebody if you ain't got your stuff together? And I kid you not, just go become a mentor. Go do some community service in law school. Go find a young student to mentor. And, you can do it through my nonprofit. You can do it through whoever you want. But go try to mentor somebody. Go try to speak life into another human being. Not just, online, not just for your followers, not just for your fans. Go become a mentor. It will change your life. You will finally see the faults in yourself that you need to work on. You will finally start becoming the person you're meant to be, because when you are in front of an audience of another human being and they're seeing all your messed up, effed up parts, you really make changes. That's how you get out of your own head. When you stop trying to make posts and go on Facebook and convince everybody how great you are, and you decide that you're going to become a mentor to somebody, I kid you not, it'll change your entire world perspective. I was going batshit crazy my 1L year because I have worked my entire life. They would not let me work. They're like, no, 1Ls can't work. I mean, unless you got some dire circumstances. I didn't have no dire circumstances. They were going to let me work. And so I told my admissions counselor at the time, Marcus, because I went to Marcus about all my problems. He was my therapist in law school. Like, he needs to be better paid. He needs to be better paid. Anyways, so like I told him all this stuff, and I was like, Marcus, I'm going to go crazy. I need something to do. And so I finally got into mentorship. And when I tell you that little girl, me and her, she's still my mentee to this day. She is a little girl who is in her 11th grade year, going on her 12th grade year soon in high school, but I met her when she was in sixth grade in ISI, and she had just submitted her mentor application the day before I came. She was so completely shook when I walked in. And at that time, she wanted to be a lawyer. She don't want to be a lawyer no more. She wants to go into PT. Mentorship is not about creating new baby lawyers. It's about speaking life into whatever they want to do. And if they change their mind, that's okay. That's what true mentorship is about. But when I saw that little Angel, and I lost her for a year because my mentoring program that I was a part of through the law school, they lost her, they lost track of her. I was like, no, never again. I created my own nonprofit. We're not going to lose track of kids. We're not going to do any of this. We're going to stay with them for life. I'm not going to be breaking no more promises to kids because I told her, because she told me, she's like, you ain't finna come. You one of them adults that like to come and check off something on your community service. And that prompted the nonprofit, because that is not what I stood for. And I knew that wasn't what I stood for. But the mentoring organization that I went through, they were going to do that to this kid. And I just couldn't do it. And I decided to create it. And then once I created my own nonprofit, then they wanted to like take ownership over my nonprofit, and they wanted to like rope it into the school. I was like, no, because I tried to run for leadership and y'all would listen to me. So I started my own thing. I'm mentoring. We're going to do crazy, amazing things with these kids, and you're just going to accept it. And that's the big thing. Like, you have to mentor. When you mentor, I kid you not, you will see all your faults. You will see all the stuff that you doubt yourself on, because your mentee is going to ask you, why do you feel that way? Because you're trying to pour life into them, right? But if you're not pouring life into yourself, you won't be able to pour into them. And when you are in front of another human being often, 1 hour a week, that's all it took, y'all. 1 hour a week for me to realize I need to get my shit together. You know, you need to get your shit together. You just completely gave that girl, like, she getting in trouble and I'm trying to help her. And I'm over here having a rough week because law school. So that became my safe, my peace. Being with her was my peace, because I got a chance to realize that I don't have to be perfect to help her. I don't have to be perfect to inspire her. I don't have to get all A's to be the person that she needs. I just got to listen. I got to learn how to listen. I got to be that person who can listen and is no longer full of self anymore. And that's why you're doubting yourself right now. It's because you're so full of yourself. And I'm not trying to, down you, but you're so full of yourself and how you appear to other people. That's people pleasing, that you have forgotten. It's all about service. It's about service to others. It's about making a difference. That's really what lawyers do. We serve others. We make our life devoted to service. And when you realize that that's what your life is, it's a service to others in some way, shape, or form, you'll change. You'll change. You'll make a big change in your life. So just become a mentor. There's a lot of mentoring programs out there. If you want to mentor through mine, that's fine. But mentor in law school, mentor. Do not leave law school not having mentored a single soul, because you won't make the changes until you got to help somebody else get, their life together, and realize that your own life not together, and you missing appointments, and you showing up late to, mentoring sessions, and you running late to, basketball games you said you was going to come to. When you start doing those things, you start checking your own self and your own motives. So that's mine, is become a mentor. Let me check on Carletta and see what she's got going on. She said that self-reflection is key. Write it out. Why do you feel that way? The pros and cons, and you'll see that it's not as bad as you think it is. Focus on your why, and this will allow you to see the big picture. And if you're still in your head, do it scared. Confidence will come. See, we're going to find a way to get all these people's voices heard, but confidence will come. Have I heard from everybody? Who hasn't spoken? Everybody? Okay. Okay, Erica, yeah, I had forgotten about your question, but I was going back to it. So Erica had this other question about the LSAT, and Carletta, I know you have experience with the LSAT as a repeat taker, so I know this question was really geared towards you. So I'm gonna wait for you to send me the comment that you want me to read for to answer, but everybody else can talk about their LSAT experience. I don't care which order you guys go in, just let me know.
Yeah, I can start this time. I took the LSAT twice. The first time I didn't like my score. That's when I wasn't ready to go to law school yet. My ducks weren't in a row. And then the second time I didn't really get the score that I wanted to either, but I was kind of just like I'm gonna apply to law school anyway because I didn't want to keep waiting. I felt like the LSAT score that I had shouldn't be something that should keep me from applying. Like I had my undergrad activities and transcripts and grades and all of that. So yeah, I took it a second time, and that was that. The LSAT again is it doesn't reflect necessarily what you're going to do in law school. It's just something that you have to check for now. Who knows when they're going to get rid of it, but a box that you have to check in order to get into law school. So definitely take the time to study. There's plenty of resources out there. Talk to people who've taken it before. Me personally, I killed the logic games. Like I only wanted to do the logic games. I was doing the logic game section for fun. Like, but the reading comprehension, all that, I was like, no, that's not my thing. So, identify your strengths and weaknesses. I spent a lot of time, again, doing the logic games, and I got, strong scores there, but I didn't really balance that time with other sections, which could have gotten me a better score. So, hopefully that's something that helps.
Yeah, and I'm actually going to answer, from the admissions counselor lens. So if I were still an admissions counselor right now and you were asking me, what should you do? You didn't get your ideal, the first try. Should you take it? What should you do, etc. That's just what I'm going to throw out at you. Um, for starters, know that many applicants take the LSAT numerous times. That's not uncommon. I know that it's not fun to take it multiple times, to have to go through that experience, to have to study. But I think that what has to help serve as a motivating tool is knowing that oftentimes scholarship money, not just acceptance, but scholarship money is tied to your LSAT score and your GPA. So those two numbers, more than anything, tend to be how schools determine the scholarship package for students. And so I, in my time as an admissions officer, definitely spoke with students. Me about the things that they did, when they took the LSAT multiple times or, changed their score. I definitely have seen students that have improved their score anywhere from 10 to 15 points. So do know that whatever you get the first time is not necessarily what you're going to get the last time. Do know that your score can change. But it's not glorious and it's not fun buckling down and studying, deciding that you won't hang out with your friends, or you have to tell your family that you have to go in your room and study for a scheduled amount of time on a consistent basis over a series of weeks or months. But I think that the payoff sometimes is really beneficial. Being able to leave law school with as little debt as possible, I think, is a good motivating factor, goal. But yeah, I definitely think that you should study as much as possible for the LSAT. If you are able to buy study materials, everybody has on whether or not you pay for a course. I recognize that students don't have the financial means to pay for an actual tutor or a course. But what I think is helpful, if all you are able to afford is if you use study books. Something that is really helpful to do while you're studying for the LSAT, and this is something that's going to be really helpful to do again when you study for the bar exam, is you need to take as many practice tests under time conditions as possible, but don't just check your answers at the end and see what you got right and got wrong. Really comb through each answer, read the explanation so that you understand why you got the answer right and why you got each answer wrong. And that particular step in LSAT studying is where I think the difference is made in terms of improvement in your score, because oftentimes, even though the questions that you're seeing are different, there's a common theme or a common thread that is reoccurring. There's a certain thought process or certain skill set that these questions are asking you. And so know that the LSAT definitely is a teachable test, and know that a large part of improving your score is not just taking these practice tests, but really buckling down and like combing through each and every answer after you take these tests, and understanding why each question was right and why each question was wrong.
Awesome. Thank you, Akeisha. And I just heard from Carletta, so I'm going to read what she said. And again, I'm going to post all of what Carletta is sending me in the comment section. So don't worry. These are all Carletta's thoughts. But LSAT is a beast test to take. Learning the foundation is key. The biggest misconception is thinking you have allocated enough time when you haven't. Taking the exam without a solid foundation gets you nowhere, still in the same percentile. What you should do is reach out to someone to determine why you scored the way that you are. Identify your areas of opportunity and ways to get better, and don't study blindly. Reach out to her. If you can identify the best way to attack those areas, you can do that with Carletta. Also, know that your ideal score should be realistic. Everyone doesn't get a 180, everyone isn't Harvard bound. Her book discusses this, and just do the best that you can. And that's really important. Like, you don't have to get a 180 to go to law school. You don't even have to get a 150 to go to law school. And I tell people all the time, I got way less than a 150, and I got a almost bigger package to law school at Alabama than my classmates, and they would probably really dislike me when they know my actual LSAT score. And I still, to this day, never told my classmates, and they got so pissed. They're like, "You're probably one of those at 180." Think what you want to think. One mentor. Go
Okay,
ahead.
I'm sorry, Nina. Yeah, I was gonna say, people don't think you have to get a 180 to get into Harvard, and so
Right.
that the median LSAT score for each school and the median GPA for each school is that's that. It is the middle number. Half the students that get accepted to the school have above it. Half the students that get accepted to the school have below it. And so I like to throw that out because I often think that students fail themselves and do themselves a disservice by deciding what schools they're going to apply to based on that number and how closely it aligns with the school's median. Obviously, if you get the school's median or above, you probably are going to be a bit more competitive. However, as an admissions officer, there were often students that did not get into the school that had our median numbers or that had a budget, whereas there were definitely students who got into the school that had below the median numbers because honestly, all law schools are looking for are just to get that median number. Beyond that median number, we were looking for a diversity of applicants, where that meant diversity in terms of thought process, diversity in terms of life experiences, whatever. And so do not think that that median is what you necessarily have to be chasing after. Make sure that you sell yourself, put together a stellar package, etc. Because yeah, you don't have to get a 180 to get into these top schools. And know that you also honestly be talk to an admissions officer. Feel free to call these schools, talk to the admissions officers, ask them what you're shooting for. They will be honest with you. They will tell you. So if you got ABC on the LSAT, you may not be the most competitive applicant. Take the LSAT again, try to get at least this, right? So have those conversations, even if not with admissions officers, with people who have been there and gone through the process. Like, what did you get on the LSAT? Did you get, this median score? Did you have the median GPA, etc.? So know that you're probably still able to get into law schools despite your numbers. Oh, we lost Nina somehow.
The gems you were dropping were just too good. I mean, she had to take a break, you know.
Maybe this is a time for us to end it. It seems like we've answered most of the questions. Does that work for you, Liku?
Yeah, that works for me.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining us tonight. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Yeah, thank you,
Bye.
everyone. If you need a resource, I'm
Sorry,
here.
y'all. I had to go to the bathroom.
We were just ending it.
Yeah, we're just closing.
It really is time to go. I really wanted to do an hour and 30 minutes, and we've reached the 30-minute mark. But if you guys have more questions, everybody had great advice today. But I just want you guys to know this. Like, at the end of every single day, I want you to tell yourself that you are valuable, that you mean everything to these schools. And if they don't treat you that way, then you don't have to go. You do not have to go. And I'll end it with this. And this is something that after you hear all these LSAT stories, I want you to take in mind. I took the LSAT one time. one time. I never took it again. And it was a low score. And I was unhappy with the score. And someone asked me a question in the small office, because there's literally like 10 people in the whole world who know my LSAT score because I told them. And those 10 people who know, they asked me this real ass question, and I never changed my mind after this. They said, do you really have the money or time or energy to spend to do this whole thing over again? You must just like spending money. And when they asked me that, I said, no, I did what I was supposed to do. I worked my butt off. I even postponed it for an extra 5 or 6 months just so I could take it later so I could be more prepared. I did exactly what I was supposed to do. Some of you are doing exactly what you were supposed to do, and then you are eliminating yourself by not even applying to these schools. You let them tell you no before you tell yourself no with these schools. You let them tell you you're not enough. And even if they do, there's a school that score is going to be enough for, and that they're going to give you a full ride. A mentee of mine, I dragged her behind with me to the conference that Evangeline Mitchell puts on every year, and she's got it all done virtually this year, and it's always free. So look up Evangeline Mitchell and sign up for her conference, y'all. And what I'm telling you is I dragged her with me to Atlanta. She got a full ride scholarship to some school in a state that is completely white, but you know what? The admissions council was Black. She brought her in, gave her a full ride scholarship. It did not expire. She did not lose it. I lost my scholarship from Alabama after my first year. She never lost it. She became boss of president. She just passed the bar over here. What I will tell you is you don't have to have the grades. You don't have to have the LSAT score. You don't even have to have the bar exam score, okay? You'll still be a lawyer. Nobody cares about those numbers except for people who are comparing themselves to you unnecessarily, because nobody's story in this entire circle of women the story is not the same. So sorry, I really had to pee. I was trying to hold it, but it really wasn't working. So I was like, let me go run. Let me just run. But I want you to know that. I want you guys to like really, truly, be a part of something big in this new law school era that we're in. You're the change. You're the one that's going to change how the administration treats everyone going forward. Me, Keisha, all of us, we laid the foundation. We laid the foundation so you can change that. And that's why this is called Becoming a Lawyer, Breaking in Barriers, and being unapologetically bold, because you are going to become a lawyer. You will break barriers in your law school experience, and then you're going to be unapologetically bold. You're going to stop apologizing for taking up space in the law school arena. You're going to stop forgetting to correct them when they spell your name wrong. I correct people all the time. If they comment my name wrong on Facebook, I will go back and correct them. No, it's actually Nina. I don't care that, it's on Facebook and you got autocorrect, fix it. Like, I am at that point in my life where I'm unapologetically bold, and you will be too. So I am sorry we had so many technical difficulties. What I will do is test broadcast the night before these so we can fix all of these. We'll do like a whole full 30-minute practice with these people to make sure that their lovely faces are always seen. I'm so sorry, Carletta, there was so many technical difficulties, but I don't know, maybe it wasn't a technical difficulties because of all of this outpouring of love and all the people who tuned in, and you guys are like blowing up all over Facebook. If you can't see it, like at least on my timeline, because I started a watch party while y'all didn't even know on my own Facebook. So like it's blowing up, and not only is it blowing up, there are people who literally reached out to my brand page and said that they've been looking forward to this specific conference all week. So you guys were a part of this first one, and y'all, if you have anything to say to any of these ladies, all of their Facebook names usually are the same online. So find them, go on LinkedIn, mention this event, tell them that you heard about them and you want to get to know them further, and just thank them. Just thank them because they took the time to be a part of this. What time is it? It is 9:18, y'all. They took about way more time than I thought anybody was going to take. 2 hours and 18 minutes out of their days. And they came before just to train so that you guys didn't have to worry about all these technical difficulties. So they've been on here longer. So if they took some time to really talk and speak into you, that means they care. That means that you can reach out to them and know that they're going to still care about you on the other end of that messenger. So don't be too afraid and just reach out. And thanks, Akeisha, for closing it out, because I was like, no, Akeisha's going to talk for at least 2 more minutes. I got time to pee. I didn't think this through. I'm so sorry, y'all. This is all on me. I'm gonna pee before, I promise. It was 2 hours. I usually have a pee break every 2 hours. I didn't expect it, but the fact that y'all asked so many questions means that it was worth it. It was really worth it to be here. So before I close out, ladies who are on the call still, do you guys have any final words of encouragement to say? Because I use my encouragement, but I want you guys to give them that final appeal, call to action. Because when I keep people this long, I need them to hear that inspiring message at the end.
Yeah, I mean, I would just echo what Nina just said. Don't hesitate to reach out to me. Find me on LinkedIn. Probably not Facebook. I try to cultivate who follows me there because sometimes I talk reckless, but find me on LinkedIn. Send me a message. Tell me that you're interested in becoming an attorney, whatever. I think that we're probably all always happy to mentor the next generation of, lawyers. I definitely want more Black women in the legal profession. So I'm happy to chat with you and assist in whatever way possible.
Yeah, just echoing Nina and Akeisha. I'm here as a resource. I'm on LinkedIn.
Is Liku
So
speaking now?
Yeah, she's speaking.
Can you hear me?
I can. Go ahead.
I'm on LinkedIn. I am on Facebook, but also a little reckless. But yeah, I'm happy to hop on the phone or hop on a Zoom chat. Like, I do want to see Black women in the legal profession succeed through law school, and if my experience and troubles and getting through that and all that can help you out, then I'm happy to talk more about that and give you the tools and resources that I relied on. So Nina, thank you so much. This was dope and it was necessary.
Thank you, Nina. Yeah, I echo that. Any final thoughts from you, Nina?
I was listening. I have to listen to Liku in a really weird way, so I have to open it on my phone and mute myself just to hear what Liku's saying. I don't know what is going on this end, but I'm gonna fuss at Be Live because they have never messed up on me. It's been great. But everything that all these ladies have said, even Carletta, who has a message for y'all, you can do this. Know that nothing can stop you but yourself. You will become an Esquire. Reach out to her, connect in any way she can be of service, and she will certainly do it. Her Instagram is becomingcarletta.esq. So she's already claimed it. She's already said that. You can do anything. You really can. Nobody in here doubts that. And nobody in here had an easy time. All of us had a rough time. All of us had a struggle. And you heard that at the very beginning. If you need to know more, like what school and all that, just reach out to them on their platforms the way that they need to be reached out to. You can try, Facebook with me. I may or may not. You have to let me know that you're requesting me from this event. Otherwise, I'm gonna be like, excuse me, who are you? I do that with everybody. So please, dear God, send me a message along with your post, or I will not friend you on Facebook because I don't know you. But thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time, bye.
Night, ladies. Bye, everyone.
Ladies.